since there's new people here today, and there's people that have been participating in this group up to, I think maybe we've done like 6 classes or something, that I am going to go through the whole process, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to give instructions for the people that are first. This is your first class. And then I'm going to give instructions for the other people. And so it's going to be, I'm going to say beginners and intermediate. Now, intermediates, you can follow all the instructions for the beginners. You're totally welcome to do that, because remember when I said in class before that the reason I review and repeat things so much is that as you do the activities, your awareness becomes fuller. And so therefore, what you heard the first time is different than what you hear the second time or the third time. But if this is the first time you're doing it, what I really recommend is just do what I'm saying for the beginners. And the reason is that we all have a tendency to kind of rush ahead and try to go, oh yeah, we got that. Well, your cognitive mind learns very, very quickly. And you can grasp this, what I'm talking about cognitively very quickly. But what the process we're going through here is reawakening and strengthening and developing your sensory awareness, basically the language of the body. And if you rush ahead, you're going to get what I'm saying cognitively, but you will not develop the skill set needed to be able to transform things in your subconscious mind. So, know that as the classes progress, you will, be able to go into and do the more in-depth. And one of the ways I'm going to explain it to you is that if you scan something and you scan it at 72 DPI, you're going to get a picture, but you're not going to get a lot of details. Now, if you take that same picture and you scan it at 720 DPI, you're going to get a lot more details. Now, the details then give you more information, and the more information gives you more awareness. And more awareness then allows you to be able to distinguish between things that are accurate or inaccurate. And that then gives you the tools to be able to change things. It's really important to remember, we're working on the subconscious mind here, and it learns really differently than the conscious mind. The subconscious mind learns in 3 ways. In hypnagogic or hypnagogic behavior, which is like hypnosis. So and super learning and habits. So it's hypnosis, super learning, and habit. Now the activities are designed to help you create both hypnosis, self-hypnosis situations, and super learning. And then repetition and using of them does habit. So what I'm saying to you is as we start moving into doing the activities, it's really important to just stay where you are now. And so if this is your first class, then know that that's where you are today. And tomorrow you'll be different, and the next day different. And next Monday when we have another class, it'll be different. And so, but don't rush yourself. And the reason I'm saying that is that we want to, the activities are designed to bring you into the blue part of the mind here. That's the conscious mind. That is the part where we want to be. If you rush, you create stress in the system and you go here. No learning, no thinking takes place in this part of the mind. This is Pavlovian. What's been programmed in comes out. It's like a monkey, it's like, you teach a monkey that he pushes a button, he gets a banana. That's what this part of the mind does. But sometimes, so we're wanting to change things in here. So we have to go and work with the way it learns. So the very first thing I want to bring up is that these two parts of the mind work in an either or capacity. Meaning that if you're here, you suspend this. This is, you know, and all the tapes and the beliefs and the perceptions that you acquired in the first 6 years of your life are suspended. That gives you an opportunity to rewrite or put in more accurate information that's going to support the life that you want. So just activating the conscious mind is the simplest way. That fire truck's going by. Is the simplest way to be able to change your life. So when we're talking about the activities, I'm going to keep talking about how does it feel, what are your senses, how does it impact you? Because I want you to anchor the experience sensorially. So what we're all going to do here is we're going to work here. So this part of the mind, both parts of the mind are amazing, but this part of the mind, you know, there's no thinking takes place, but it's 1,000,000 times faster and more powerful a processor. And it's designed to make sure that your life reflects the data. And to me, that's when I first learned that, it was like the scariest thing I could hear. Because what it's saying is that in the first 6 years of your life, just by watching what your parents are doing and your siblings and the people around you in those first 6 years, your mind is in copy and paste. It sees something, it says, oh, that's how I do it. When I get angry, I hit somebody. I get angry, I do this. I get upset, this is what I do. It doesn't have the capacity to say, that's not a good idea. And so then you go to school and you behave that way and you get reprimanded. Or you behave that way. And that part of the mind is designed to operate without the control or the observation of your conscious mind. So the only way you know what your tapes look like is by looking at your life. And if your life is not what you want, then it's time to change these tapes. And that's what we're focused on. It's time to change them. So this part of the mind, the conscious mind, so this part here, the big orange part, can process 40 million bits of external stimuli a second. 40 million, okay? This part can process 40. We have a kind of a difference of power here. But this part here, so this part is smaller, slower, less powerful. But if you know how to access it and you know how to play with it, you can create anything. So the main thing the two things I want to give you in these classes is, number one, the awareness that this part of the mind is designed to make sure your life reflects the data. Its job is to make sure. So if you were told that you were stupid, then this part of the mind, even if you are the next Einstein, this part of the mind is required to make sure that you exhibit behavior that illustrates that you're stupid until you change the tape or you suspend this part. So it's really, that's why I said it was really scary when I found this out. So that's what that does. And this part here can create anything. And both parts are amazing, but you just have to know how they work, know their pluses and their minuses, and how they're designed to work together. Okay, so enough science for today. We're going to jump right into the activities. And the first activity in the program is called Just Scribble. And what I'm wanting you to realize is that this is not mindless scribbling. This is, we are using scribbling as a vehicle for mindfulness. Because what we're going to do is we are going to roll back the clock in time, and we're going to reconnect to our sensory awareness. And why is this important? Because I had a teacher when I was in my 20s who said, you know, the body has two minds, the one from the neck up and the one from the neck down. The one from the neck down doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. This one does. And so when you reconnect with your sensorial experience of life, you connect with the neck down. Now, as children, until we got the message that who we were, or who we were, you know, who we were wasn't what we were supposed to be, or who, you know, whatever version of that you got, that we were very connected to our inner GPS, to our intuitiveness. We knew who we were. But then we had to split. We had to become somebody that fit into the family, fit into the program. And this is a way to reclaim that part and become whole again. And as I always put it, it's all about becoming the person you were designed to be, not the person you were taught to be. And it's important to also remember that young children learn 80% through modeling, and 90% of that is nonverbal. It's not what they say, it's what they're doing. It's how they behave. It's what's going on in their mind. It's the patterns that were passed to them. So, okay, so here we go. So in Just Scribble, I have you start with your non-dominant hand. And why? The reason why is that you're unfamiliar with it. And we want to get the big part, we want to get this part of the mind out of the way. So we're going to give it something it's not used to. Because when you give the system something it's not used to, you have to activate the conscious mind. This part is incapable of doing something new. It can only do what it does. It's only do what it's taught. It can only push the button and expect a banana. That's all it can do. So we start with our non-dominant hand. And in the beginning, I have you close your eyes and do 3 deep breaths. Why? Because once again, you closing your eyes cuts off the visual, which is what, you know, you're used to going, okay, yeah. So we're cutting off that visual. We're using the non-dominant hand. We're cutting off the visual. And then we're taking 3 deep breaths. And we're doing that to kind of also interrupt the, oh, I got it together attitude of this part. But after you figured out what this hand likes and that hand likes, you don't have to do the 3 deep breaths if you want to. You don't have to do that. But in the beginning, it's important because you want to just get to this part of the mind as quickly as possible. And what I want you to do is pay attention to how you feel before you do the activity, while you're doing the activity, and when you're done with the activity. And you're looking for body clues, body sensations. So here we go. So we're going to close our eyes. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. And what I want you to do is just allow, remember the word allow. Allow your non-dominant hand to scribble any way it wants. And I want you to think about that you're exploring and you're discovering, because it's those words, it's all wonder and discovery is what activates the conscious mind. So it's really explore. Does it like going in circular motion? Or does it like making straight lines? How do you like holding your crayon or your drawing implement? Just really, really, really ask yourself. This is inquiry, self-inquiry. And you're just exploring how you like to move a crayon or your drawing implement around the paper. What feels the best? What feels the best? And the reason I'm asking you what feels the best is that when you hit the conscious mind, when you activate the conscious mind, your brain automatically dumps oxytocin and dopamine into your system. So the pleasure sense, and it's an internal pleasure sense. You know, kind of like how you get when you eat chocolate, or, you know, or you get a good hug, or, you know, you're looking for this, And so look for the pattern, look for the rhythm. And if you're an intermediate person, you know, also you can focus on the nerve endings in your hand and look at for sensations in different parts of your body. You know, do you feel when you move the crayon in a certain way, do you feel that in your legs, in your thighs, in your feet, you know, in your back? Where do you feel it? Where does that pleasure sense come? Because we're going from just focusing on the rhythm, which is what the beginners are, the rhythm and the shaped lines and what feels the best. You know, we're still focusing there. Now and if you're in the intermediate, you can start transitioning into, you know, how does this affect different parts of your body? Because you're wanting to eventually become really aware that your body has a grid work. And every single part of it is giving you messages. So when you have a sense of what your non-dominant hand likes to do and what it really, you know, is pleasurable, then keep your eyes closed, take 3 more deep breaths, and pass the crayon over to your dominant hand. And then do the same thing with that. And before you open your, you know, and just keep exploring till you have a sense. When you feel done, you know, then before you open your eyes, ask yourself, did you like your non-dominant hand or your dominant hand the best? And when you're done with both of those, then hit the raise hand button. So I know, because I can't see everybody. So that way I won't be rushing you.
Okay, I believe everyone has their hands raised.
Fantastic, thank you, Patricia. Okay, so the second part of this activity has 3 parts. And because we had spent some time in the beginning doing the technical stuff, I'm gonna run a little bit over if that's okay for people. So the second version of this activity is 2 hands. And when you do that, you know, once again, you start with the 3 deep breaths, and you want to have both hands moving simultaneously. They don't need to be doing the same thing, but they need to be moving simultaneously. Now, if you have your paper on a clipboard, it'll stay stationary. If you have it on the table, it might move. And some people like that, and some people don't. You know, if you have trouble with it, you can, you know, hold it down or tape it down or something of that nature, but just pay attention. And what I also point out to people is that if you have trouble, you know, if it's disturbing to you that you start scribbling and the paper becomes out of control, just pay attention to that. Pay attention to that reaction. because once again, what we're doing is we're really trying to become more and more aware of how we are affected by things outside of us. You know, if this pandemic teaches us nothing else, we are connected. You know, we are, so if somebody else is in a difficult place, that affects us. Now, we can't go around trying to control people outside of ourselves, but we can learn how to stabilize ourselves so that when somebody's upheaval, you know, enters our life, that we aren't rattled so much. You know, we're able to stay centered, we're able to stay focused, we're able to, you know, think more clearly. And so, so as you do the two-handed one, if your paper starts moving, just pay attention. Pay attention to how you react. So here we go. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. And allow both hands to move simultaneously. They don't have to be doing the same thing. One can be making straight lines, the other curved lines. It doesn't really matter. But pay attention. And when you feel done, when you feel like you have a sense of what it feels like to have both hands moving simultaneously, then before you open your eyes, ask yourself, did you get more pleasure from scribbling with your non-dominant hand, your dominant hand, or both hands together? And when you're done with that, you can hit the raise button. And when you're clear on that, you can hit the raise button. Fantastic. Okay, so I have a question, and that is, and if you can type your answer in the chat box, and then Patricia can tell me what it is, or maybe I will see it too. Anyway, I want to know, did you prefer your non-dominant hand, your dominant hand, or both hands together? And you can just put a 1, 2, or 3, or you can just put dominant, non-dominant, dominant, or both hands, however you want to write it down. So I just want you to be able to share that. Now, if you like all 3 of them, then you can just say you like all 3 of them. But what I'm really wanting you to do is learn how to distinguish how your body responds when you scribble with your non-dominant hand, your dominant hand, and both hands together. So you added 1. So, and because then we're going to move into, you know, where would you use this? How would you use it? Because in some situations, scribbling with my non-dominant hand helps me, you know, deal with certain situations. My dominant is different, and both hands together is very different. So learning how to distinguish these things is, I feel like, is really key to really bringing ourselves back to this amazing feedback system we have with the body. I mean, it really is unbelievably amazing to me on how much our body is guiding us. And for many of us, at least for myself, I lost touch with that because I was taught that I was supposed to listen to what other people were telling me what to do. I needed to follow their pace. I needed to be the way they said I needed to be. And so I lost that communication, that feedback system. And then, tell you a little story. So when I was in my late 20s, I lived in Paris for about 6 months. And during that period of time, I was taking trapeze classes at the National Circus School in Paris. And my teacher was Italian, and he only spoke Italian. And I only spoke English with a very small amount of French, just enough French to be able to survive in the city. You know, it was like taxis, food, you know, this total basics. And so how did I function in a class where the teacher spoke only Italian and I only spoke English? Well, what I had to do is what we do, or we did when we were infants, is the person that was ahead of me, when, you know, you got on your little safety belt on and you got up in the air and you were on the trapeze, I would listen to the sounds that were coming out of his mouth, and I would watch what their body did. I would get myself in a theta brain state. I would get myself in this meditative place, and I would sit there and I would just focus on what the sound and the movement, and then I would translate that into what muscles I had to move in order to accomplish that. And in the process, then when it was my turn, he would say a certain sound, my body would do da-da. My body would do da-da. You know, I could do this, I could do that. And, you know, it was a big leap, but it wasn't until much later in life that I realized that this is how we learned as children. And that what the system does is it brings that circuitry back, brings us back to that incredible feedback system. So I said, you know, we start out, you know, with the scanners doing 72 DPI. Okay, you got from my perspective, you've got 50 trillion cells. So that means you have 50 trillion fax machines or scanners in your body. And all we're going to do is every day you do a little bit more. You go from 72 to 73. You go from 73 to 78. You know, you go from 78. Each time you get a little bit more of that radar and feedback system that we had to let go of in order to survive. So, homework. My suggestion is play with the scribbling. Find places you can do it. Remember, if you are wiping your counter, that can be scribbling. If you're vacuuming, that can be scribbling. If you're cleaning the toilet, that can be scribbling. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate it into your life. You do not have to always be using crayons. We use crayons in the beginning because it's a very simple way to be able to explain the components necessary to changing stuff in the subconscious mind. That's the only reason we do it. We do it, and I use crayons because they have a high wax content, so there's a resistance as they move across the paper that makes it easier to feel and sense and activate the nerve endings. So unless somebody has a question, I will see you next Monday. Have a lovely week, and scribble and share it with other people.